Why didn't the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot not get involved in the match?
So, next on the agenda is the ring canvas. I know you mentioned it beforehand, but we're obviously going to make a clip out of this because that's how we make our money. It started with Logan Paul and KSI's energy drink Prime at the beginning of last year. They were sponsoring every PLE pay-per-view, whatever you want to call it, with, in fairness, a fairly tasteful and understated central advertising of a Prime bottle in the middle of the ring canvas. Then it was accompanied by a Prime hydration station that always came into play during every PLE as well, because everyone always ended up getting thrown into it. Now, gone is the greyish ring mat, and that has now been replaced by a black ring canvas splashed with advertising all over the place like it's UFC, including Netflix itself, which is weird that Netflix is sponsoring Netflix, in a sense, anyway. Netflix, Fortnite in the middle, Snickers, Cricket, which I believe is a mobile phone service provider.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer and Riyadh Season. One thing I also noticed is you couldn't even tell the Real American Beer logo. It just didn't pop like the other logos did, but anyway, be that as it may. You said this before, Vince McMahon would go crazy over this.
Yeah, absolutely he would, because what you're doing is you're featuring and saying these brands are more important than the brand you're watching right now. That would be Vince's thing. Now, the LED ring post and the LED ring barriers that have that during particular matches or other things, it's a little NASCAR-y, but I don't think it's as egregious as putting, by the way, how many advertisers can you fit there? Like, if you're an advertiser and it's not just your one thing like the Prime bottle, now you're looking all around in all corners of the mat and not the guys that are bumping in the center, the girls that are bumping in the center of the mat. I don't know. I think right now WWE is NASCAR, where we have to figure out, dude, I go back to the WrestleMania, one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I'll repeat it over and over again. Rey Mysterio versus his son, who turned his back on his family, was with this woman they didn't approve of, was doing all these shady things with the Eternalist father. He was just a spoiled little brat. He was just a jerk. And the father was fighting for the family's honor. Ray's, Dominic comes out in the paddy wagon and basically with the cuffs and the mask, and what a great heel entrance. Ray comes down as the father that's going to teach his bastard son a lesson and then spank him, put him over his knee. But before that, here's the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot coming down to really add to this blood feud.
Dearie. It's capitalism at its best, isn't it?
Oh my God. The only thing why didn't the Cinnamon Toast Crunch mascot not get involved in the match? That would have been awesome. You could pull the mascot thing off and it could have been Dominic's sister and she could have kicked him in the nuts. There would have been something to that. Poured milk over him as he was like, if you're going to go that way, you might as well go all the way. But that is the most that there is that's the new era of WWE right there. That and the ring canvas and trying to really just maximize the money.
KSI, when he was the Prime guy, did really well on that. Sorry, I do apologize for interrupting. When KSI was dressed as the Prime bottle, I thought that was a really good way of integrating advertising because it made all the sense in the world in that respect. And they even did a photo afterwards with him on a gurney, on a stretcher, just go, like that. It was all in good fun and all funny and everything. But it was great. If you're going to integrate advertising, that was a really good way of doing this.
Yeah, because KSI is the goof, not the goof on the company for doing it. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I just feel like you got the one advertisement or you got the ring apron advertisements. I'm talking about the skirt that, are now the LED panel and the ring barrier and the LED ring post, but actually on the mat where the guys are working and you're looking at the logos and the brands instead of looking at the guys trying to kill each other, not for real, but you're looking at blood feuds and other things going on. Roman Reigns is laying in the ring and you're looking going, wait a minute, wait, what's Riyadh? What's that right there? My question to you back about these sponsorships. I see all these different things to try to build up multiple streams of income. And it's been a rumor. And actually, there was like a day where Saudi Arabia owned WWE and then they had to back out and pay Vince a bunch of money. Remember that? Like
Owned.
for one day. And they had to pay him money to back out of the deal. And then they ended up selling to Endeavor and
I didn't
TKO.
realize that. I thought it was only a rumor that Saudi was in the running. I didn't think they'd actually paid any money.
There was something, it could be rumor, but supposedly there was a payout that got disclosed during that time. And they may have made a play or they might have put in paperwork or they might have actually owned it for a day or something. And Vince got a payoff from Saudi Arabia. And then not long after that, the deal with Endeavor went through. I don't know exactly the details, but we were covering that, Vince, myself, and Ben, and looking deep into that. They looked a little deeper than I did, but looking at that, eventually Saudi Arabia looks like they're going to own just about everything they can own. Do you think they're building all this up for a potential to sell the company once again years down the line and building up the portfolio, the sponsorships, the affiliate or whatever, the marketing partners and all that stuff?
Ultimately, yeah, they could, because now it's not a quote unquote family run company anymore. You know, there's not like 4 generations of McMahons. You know, all the McMahons are gone.
Yeah,
And,
but
and
you
ultimately,
still
it's
have
people
2,
in
yeah, you
suits
still
looking at
have
bottom
3
line.
people. You still have 3 people there, though. The old guard's not gone. You still have Hunter there. Well, you got Sean, you got more people. You got Hunter and Sean and everybody they have around them in the developmental system. And then you have Stephanie still comes out once in a while, so she's got to have something to do with the company. But the 2 most important elements of that are the old guard yes men, Michael Hayes and Bruce Pritchard. You don't think they're telling Vince what's going on? One of them or both of them?
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. But that's not the point, though. I mean, the point is that, I mean, it doesn't matter if Sean's there or Triple H is there. Yes, Triple H has got a high position of power, but guess who's above him? The Rock, many people on the board, Nick Khan above him, Mark Shapiro, other people. The people in the suits are in the driving seat, and if they see dollar signs in their eyes big enough, they'll sell it, because that's what people in suits do.
Well, what I meant was they sold it to Endeavor to get the old guard of the Vince McMahon era stink off of that. That's why they're doing this Triple H and era and the Paul Levesque era and the Netflix era and all that stuff. What I'm saying is that you still have the potential for all the Vince McMahon era baggage to consistently come out. As a matter of fact, didn't both those guys, Hayes and Bruce Pritchard, take leaves recently? I don't know if they're back
They
yet.
did, but I think with Bruce there was a, I don't know if it's a family issue or an illness issue. I've got a feeling it might have been an illness issue, but he's also been off his podcast as well. So I think Michael Hayes was gone for a brief period, but is already back. I think Bruce might be back as well already. There was a photo of them that came out a few days ago.
Well, I'm just looking at it from the timeline of trying to get all that and move on completely. I still don't know exactly why those 2 guys are still there. I don't want anybody out of a job, but I don't know why those guys are there. If all this other infrastructure and the Hollywood and the TKO and the UFC stuff, if all these things are intertwined and there's a new management in there that controls it, like you just said, those suits, these old school carnies, like they just don't fit in. Triple H at least got groomed by Vince to kind of take that position. Vince actually, whether he liked it or not, was training his successor. He just didn't think he would be gone when the successor took over.
Ari Emanuel's the name I always forget, but he's the head honcho.
Ron
Right,
Emanuel's brother.
let's get back to the ring canvas then. One you said the sponsorships, which is just jarring and takes your eye off the action, which is to a degree correct. We're going to talk about the ring canvas more in a second. I think it works better in UFC because of the camera angles. The hard camera with WWE is lower, and therefore if you're just looking from the hard camera at the canvas, it's harder to see some of the sponsorships on the ring canvas as well. So I don't think there's as much value for money as if you were sponsoring UFC, where they've got, the top-down cameras and just higher angle stuff for the most part as well. Especially, when, it's a grappling exchange on the floor, and generally they've got high cameras looking down, so therefore sponsors get more value for their money. That's my opinion on that one. Black canvas. What do you think?
Yeah, but the UFC Octagon is the same color as the WWE, the old WWE one.
It was.
And what I'm looking at right here is they got the brighter canvas. I got overhead shots where they have like Monster Energy, UFC store, all that stuff. And what they do is they have the same color as the old WWE canvas, but then they have blacks, reds, greens, and that makes it stand out. Like the Prime logo stood out because of the contrast. There's sometimes just trying to be different. I'm looking, there's no black canvas, maybe in other MMA companies and stuff, but UFC literally, there was one where they had green. I think that was for Ireland or so. Oh, it's a concept in emerald green, but then they contrasted with white to cover over. But they had a black canvas with a red Netflix logo that had no black outline to make it, or a white outline to make it pop. WWE is usually really good. I mean, their presentation's awesome, but they're usually really good at color brand swatches, you know what I mean? And stuff like that, those little details, but they didn't. Maybe Netflix was like, let's try a black canvas just to be different. And maybe next week they'll go back to the regular one.
Do you know what it reminded me of is the old Ring of Honor shows? And I hate to say that put me off. I'd never liked the black ring canvas. I never liked it. I don't know what it always looked slightly carpeted to me, or something like that. It looked like a different texture when you changed the color of a ring canvas, and it never looked quite right.
Well, you know why? Because the black ring canvas with a really dark building, it bleeds through. If you're gonna do that, you light the fans blue or red or do something, but then you run into the problem like WWE's tried to get cute before. The two most notable ones, Kane's matches with the red light sucked. Then Sin Cara with anytime you add the special lighting, then The Fiend. I think that was the third one. You add that special lighting, you don't make this is literally darken the fans, light up the ring, that's it. Or like they do, keep the fans lit and the ring lit, and you're ready to go. This is one of those things they should not change. They should go to the throwback WWE or WWF days of keeping it light, keeping it bright, and putting a very, how should I put it? Everything else was a vibrant presentation, but the black canvas made it a very dull presentation in the ring.
Yeah, that was always my criticism with AEW Dynamite, Collision especially for a while. It just everything was greys and blacks, and the wrestlers wore black, and the same with WCW back in the day. The last 2 years when they changed, the fantastic entrance to the Star Trek logo one, as you well know that, and it just sucked the life out of the product because it was too black and too dark. And then they've changed the referee shirts to be grey and black.
Mhm. Well, what they need to do then, WWE needs to take a look at this, and if they're gonna keep that apron black, then they have to change the color swatch on the sponsors because the sponsors should be unhappy that you can't see it pop out of the mat. And they have to stop, and this could be a great thing right here. Outside of Austin or Taker, nobody should be wearing black. How's that? You have to have your own color scheme that pops on a black mat. And I dare say it, I don't think the talent even knew till that day that the mat was gonna be black, or else the smart workers would have been, "Oh, well, if that's the case," like Drew. Drew wore black in the black mat. Jey Uso had a black base on his, even though he had colors. Drew should switch to like a blue or something like that if they're gonna keep the black mat and act accordingly. The workers have to be separated and more of a 3D space within the ring and not bleed into the mat. That's a very people think, well, what are you splitting hairs for with this? Because it really does. You may not know it, but subconsciously, the logos, the sponsors take your focus away from the match. The colors being too bled together. How can you say it? I wouldn't say distracting, but too much of the
Homogenized.
same. You don't focus. You don't focus on the actual wrestlers in there. You're looking at like like somebody threw the same paint color across the canvas. That's kind of I can't quite put it in the words, but it's not a good thing. It's a downgrade from the previous canvas.